Okay, so for this first one, forearm supination, the axis is at the ulnar border of the volar aspect of the wrist, proximal to the ulna styloid. The stationary arm is perpendicular to the floor, and the moving arm is against the volar aspect of the wrist. Angle is about 90 degrees. For this next one, forearm pronation, the axis is at the ulnar border of the dorsal aspect of the wrist, proximal to the ulna styloid. The stationary arm is perpendicular to the floor, and the moving arm is against the dorsal aspect of the wrist. The angle is about 90 degrees. And for this next one, wrist flexion, the axis is on the lateral aspect of the wrist, just distal to the radial styloid. The stationary arm is parallel to the radius. The moving arm will be parallel to the metacarpal of the index finger. And the angle is about 75 degrees. For this next one, wrist extension, the axis is in the same spot, the lateral aspect of the wrist, just distal to the radial styloid. The stationary arm is parallel to the radius. The moving arm is parallel to the metacarpal of the index finger. And the angle is about 65 degrees. For this next one, wrist radial deviation, the axis is at the dorsum of the wrist, at the base of the third metacarpal. The stationary arm is at the center of the forearm, and the moving arm will be parallel to the third metacarpal. The angle is about 25 degrees. And then next, wrist ulnar deviation. The axis is at the same spot, the dorsum of the wrist, at the base of the third metacarpal. The stationary arm, center of the forearm, and the moving arm is parallel to the third metacarpal. The angle is about 30 degrees. And lastly is finger MP flexion. So the axis will be centered on top of the middle MP joint, and the stationary arm is on top of the metacarpal, and moving arm will be on top of the proximal phalanx. Angle is about 85 degrees.